His eyes snapped open in the middle of the session, but he wasn't seeing the room. He was seeing something else. Something impossible. There's a sun down there. Underground, a sun that never sets. And cities. Beautiful cities. I lived down there. He had resisted going under at first. Sat stiff in the chair, arms crossed, determined to stay in control. But then something shifted. His defenses crumbled. His breathing slowed. His body relaxed so completely it looked like he might melt into the chair itself. The room felt different suddenly. Cooler. The air seemed denser, like they were no longer at surface level. Like somehow, without moving, they had descended. His face changed. The hard lines of skepticism smoothed away. He looked younger, softer, almost innocent. When he spoke, his voice was different, quieter, more reverent. Like he was in a sacred space and didn't want to disturb it. It's so peaceful here, so quiet. Not the quiet of silence, the quiet of harmony. Everything hums at the same frequency. My whole body feels like it's vibrating, like I'm tuning into something I've been deaf to my whole life. His hands uncurled in his lap, his head tilted back slightly. The air tastes different, cleaner, purer, like breathing for the first time after holding your breath for years. The guide leaned forward carefully. Where are you right now? What do you see? He didn't answer immediately. His eyes moved beneath his closed lids, scanning something only he could perceive. I'm in a tunnel, but it's not dark. It's lit from within. The walls themselves glow. They're smooth, almost glass-like, but warm to the touch. I can feel the warmth radiating from them. His breathing shifted. I'm walking. I've walked this path 1,000 times, maybe more. My feet know where to go without thinking, and I'm not alone. There are others walking with me, but they're not human, not exactly. They're taller, much taller, and they glow too, like the walls, like everything down here glows. A crease formed between his eyebrows, but I'm human, I think. I look down at my hands, and they're human hands, smaller, darker, different from theirs, but they don't treat me differently. They don't see me as less. We're equals here, all of us. No matter what form we take. His voice dropped to a whisper. The tunnel opens up ahead. I can see light, bright light, but it doesn't hurt my eyes. It's welcoming, warm, like coming home after a long journey. And I can hear something. Music maybe, or voices, or both. It's hard to tell. Everything down here blends together in the most beautiful way. The guide's voice was gentle. Tell me about this place, about these beings, about who you are here. He took a long breath, and the words began to flow like an underground river, finally finding its way to the surface. This is the inner world, the hidden world, the world that surface dwellers think is just myth and legend. But it's real, more real than the surface in many ways. This is where the earth keeps its heart, its soul, its deepest wisdom. His face relaxed into peace. I'm a human who was brought here. Not kidnapped, not taken against my will, chosen, selected. Because I was ready, because my soul was old enough to handle the truth, because I could be trusted with the knowledge of what exists beneath the surface. He paused, searching for words. My name in this life is something simple. Thomas. Just Thomas. I lived on the surface for the first part of my life, in a time long ago, before modern civilization, before cities and technology, when humans still lived close to the earth, close to nature, close to the old ways. His voice grew distant. I was a seeker. Even as a young man, I knew there was more than what I could see, more than what my tribe believed, more than what the elders taught. I would wander, explore, go places others feared to go, into caves, into mountains, into the deep forests, always searching, always knowing there was something just beyond my reach. A smile crossed his face. And then one day, I found it, or it found me. I was exploring a cave system, deeper than I had ever gone before. The others in my tribe thought I was foolish, dangerous, that the caves would swallow me, but I felt called, pulled, like invisible hands guiding me deeper and deeper into the earth. His breathing quickened slightly with the memory. I walked for hours, days, maybe. Time stopped meaning anything. I had brought fire with me, torches. But the deeper I went, the less I needed them, because the cave started to glow. Faintly at first, then brighter. The rock itself was luminous, and I knew I was close to something impossible. Something that would change everything. He shifted in the chair. The tunnel opened into a massive cavern, so big I couldn't see the other side, and there were lights, hundreds of them, thousands, like stars had fallen from the sky and settled underground. But they weren't stars, they were cities, beautiful, glowing cities, built into the cavern walls, built into the stone itself, alive with light and movement and life. His voice filled with wonder, and that's when I saw them, the tall ones, the ancient ones. They were waiting for me, like they knew I was coming. They stood at the edge of their city, watching me approach, and I should have been afraid, should have run, but I wasn't. I felt safe, safer than I had ever felt on the surface. He was quiet for a moment. They spoke to me, not with words, with thoughts, with feelings, with pure communication that bypassed language entirely. They told me I was expected, that they had been watching me, watching all humans, waiting for ones who were ready, ready to know the truth, ready to learn, ready to become bridges between the worlds. His hands lifted slightly. They offered me a choice. I could return to the surface, go back to my tribe, live out my life never speaking of what I had seen, or I could stay, learn from them, become one of the few humans who live in the inner world, who serve as liaisons between the surface and the depths, who carry knowledge between the two realms. A tear rolled down his cheek. I chose to stay, not because I didn't love my people, but because I knew this was my purpose. This was why I had always felt different, why I had always been searching. This was home in a way the surface never was. His voice steadied. The beings, they have many names. Some call them the Ancient Ones. Some call them the Elder Race. Some call them the Guardians, but they don't care about names. They're beyond such things. They're simply the keepers, the ones who stayed behind when most of their kind left, who chose to remain in the earth, to maintain the balance, to preserve the knowledge, to watch over humanity as it grows and learns and evolves. He smiled softly. They took me in like family, taught me their ways, their language, their understanding of reality, and it was so different from what I knew on the surface. They see everything as connected, everything is alive, the rocks, the water, the air, even the crystals that grow in the deep places, all of it conscious, all of it aware, all of it part of one great living organism called Earth. His breathing deepened. The cities are beyond description, not built the way humans build, not stone stacked on stone, but grown, shaped from living rock through sound and intention. The buildings merge with the cavern walls, flow with the natural curves and formations. There's no separation between nature and civilization here. They're one and the same. He paused, his face glowing with memory. And the light, the eternal light, that was the hardest thing to understand at first. How can there be light underground? How can plants grow without the sun? But there is a sun here, or something like a sun, a great luminous core at the center of the hollow spaces within the earth. It gives off light and warmth, creates its own weather, its own seasons, its own day and night, though the cycles are different from the surface. His voice grew more animated. I lived there for what felt like years. Maybe it was years. Maybe it was decades. Time moves strangely in the inner world. A year on the surface might be a day down there. Or the reverse. I could never quite figure out the ratio. But I aged slowly. Very slowly. The air itself seemed to preserve life, to extend it, to nourish it at the deepest levels. He settled deeper into the memory. My days were spent learning. They taught me about energy, about how everything in the universe is just vibration at different frequencies, about how consciousness creates reality, about how thoughts are real things with real power, about how the earth is not just a rock floating in space, but a living being with its own awareness, its own purpose, its own evolution. His hands moved expressively. They showed me the crystal chambers, massive caverns filled with crystals bigger than houses. These crystals serve as memory storage, as communication devices, as healing chambers, as portals to other dimensions. The beings use them the way humans use tools, but with reverence, with respect, with deep understanding of the responsibility that comes with such power. He smiled gently. They also taught me about the other inner world cities, because there isn't just one, there are many, scattered throughout the hollow places within the earth. Some connected by tunnels, some accessible only through dimensional shifts. Each one unique, each one home to different groups, different cultures, different expressions of the same basic understanding that the earth is sacred and must be honored. His voice grew thoughtful, And they told me about the surface, about how it was always meant to be a school, a place where souls come to learn through limitation, through separation, through forgetting. The inner world is a place of remembering, of unity, of knowing, but the surface is where real growth happens, through challenge, through contrast, through the experience of being seemingly alone and having to find your way back to connection. He paused. They told me that humanity was young, still learning, still making mistakes, but that they were watching, always watching, protecting when necessary, guiding when possible, waiting for the day when surface humans would be ready to know about the inner world, to meet their elder brothers and sisters, to learn from those who never forgot. His expression grew more serious. But that day was far off. They showed me visions of the future, of humanity going through dark times, through wars and disasters, through periods of deep forgetting. They showed me that the knowledge of the inner world would be hidden, turned into myths, into fairy tales, into stories people stopped believing. And this was necessary, because humanity had to grow on its own, had to make its own mistakes, had to find its own way. His voice dropped lower, and they told me I would be part of that I would return to the surface eventually, carry what I learned back to my people, plant seeds of knowledge that would grow over thousands of years, that I would incarnate again and again, sometimes remembering, sometimes forgetting, but always carrying the truth in my soul, always being drawn back to caves and deep places, always knowing there was something beneath the surface, something hidden, something real. He took a shaky breath. The day came when I had to leave. I had been there long enough, learned enough. It was time to return, to fulfill my purpose. And I didn't want to go. The inner world was paradise, peace, perfection, and the surface was harsh, difficult, full of suffering and struggle. But I understood that I had a mission, a responsibility, a promise I had made before I was born. Tears flowed freely now. They led me back through the tunnels, different tunnels than I had entered through. These led to a different part of the world, far from my original home. They told me this was intentional, that I needed to spread the knowledge, to plant it in different soils, to give humanity multiple chances to remember. His voice broke. At the exit, they gave me gifts, crystals, small ones, programmed with knowledge, with healing, with connection to the inner world. They told me to hide them, to pass them down through my children, through generations, so that when the time was right, when humanity was ready, the crystals would be found, would be activated, would help trigger the great remembering. He sobbed once, and then I walked out into the sunlight, the real sun, and it hurt. It was too bright, too harsh, too different from the gentle light of the inner world. And I felt so alone, so isolated, so separated from the unity I had known. This was the hardest part. Returning to separation, after experiencing oneness. His breathing became ragged. I lived the rest of that life on the surface. I tried to tell people what I had seen, what I had learned, but they didn't believe me. They thought I was mad, touched by spirits, possessed by demons. Some listened, a few, the seekers, the ones like I had been, and to them, I passed on what I could, in stories, in symbols, in teachings disguised as myths. He grew quieter. I died in that life, never seeing the inner world again with my physical eyes, but I saw it every night in my dreams, and I felt them, the ancient ones, always watching, always supporting, always reminding me that I was not alone, that I was part of something bigger, that my work mattered even if I couldn't see the results. His voice steadied, and then I came back, again and again, different bodies, different times, different places, but always the same pattern. Always drawn to caves, to mountains, to deep places, always searching for the way back in, sometimes finding small entrances, small pockets of the inner world, sometimes just feeling the energy, the pull, the knowing that something was down there. He opened his eyes suddenly, though still in the regressed state. And in this life, I've been searching again, without knowing why, without understanding what I was looking for, just feeling that pull. That certainty that there's more beneath the surface, that the earth is hollow in places, that there are beings living in the depths, and people think I'm crazy. They roll their eyes when I talk about it. They tell me it's impossible, that science disproves it, but I know, my soul knows, because I've been there, I've lived there, I've walked those glowing tunnels, and stood in those crystal cities and learned from beings who are older than human, civilization itself. He closed his eyes again, going even deeper. His whole body began to tremble. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. The hardest part isn't that people don't believe me. The hardest part is the homesickness, the deep, soul-level homesickness for a place I can't physically return to, because the entrances are hidden now, guarded, protected, the inner world beings closed. Most of the access points when humanity became too violent, too destructive, too likely to bring their chaos into the peaceful depths. His hands clutched at his chest, and I understand why. I do. Humanity isn't ready yet. We're still learning, still growing, still making the same mistakes over and over. We'd destroy the inner world just like we're destroying the surface. We'd bring our wars and our greed and our fear into the last pure place on earth. So the doors had to be closed, had to be sealed, for the protection of both worlds. Tears poured down his face. But it hurts. It hurts so much to remember paradise and be locked out of it, to know it exists, to feel it calling, but to be unable to answer, to be stuck up here in the noise and the chaos and the forgetting, to watch humanity destroying the planet, to watch them drill into the earth without respect or reverence, to watch them treat the living earth like it's just dead rock to be exploited. His voice rose with anguish. And I can't stop it. I can't save it. I can't make people understand. I'm just one person, one voice, one soul, remembering what thousands have forgotten. And sometimes the weight of that knowledge, it's too much. Sometimes I wish I could forget too. Wish I could just live a normal life without this ache, without this knowing, without this mission I can't seem to fulfill. He sobbed freely. But then I remember what they told me. The ancient ones. They said this is exactly why I came back. Why we all came back. All of us who lived in the inner world. Who learned from the elder races. Who carry the memory. We came back now because this is the time. This is the pivotal moment. When humanity either wakes up or destroys itself. When the door either opens again or closes forever. His voice grew stronger through the tears. And we're not here to save everyone. We're not here to force anyone to believe. We're here to be beacons, to be reminders, to be living proof that there is more to this world than what we can see on the surface. To help those who are ready to remember, to find each other, to build communities of consciousness, to prepare for the day when the inner world reveals itself again. He opened his eyes wide, staring at something beyond the physical. And I can see it now. I can see why I've felt so lost in this life. So purposeless, so disconnected. It's because I forgot. I forgot my mission, forgot my promise, forgot why I chose to incarnate at this specific time. But now I remember, and everything makes sense. The depression, the anxiety, the feeling of not belonging. It was all because I was disconnected from my purpose, from my truth, from my identity as a bridge between worlds. His face transformed. The anguish shifted to determination, to clarity, to power. I am a keeper of the inner world memory. I am a guardian of the ancient knowledge. I am a bridge between the surface and the depths. This is who I am. This is what I came here to do, and I won't forget again. I can't forget again. Too much depends on it. The guide spoke softly. Take some deep breaths. Start to bring yourself back to this room, to this time, to this body. You can keep all the knowledge, but release the pain. You are here. You are safe. You are exactly where you need to be. He breathed deeply several times. His body slowly relaxed. The intensity faded from his face, replaced by a calm knowing. His hands uncurled. He blinked several times, adjusting to the present moment. I'm back, he said quietly. But I'm different. Everything's different. The guide waited. What's different? He looked down at his hands, flexing his fingers like he was seeing them for the first time. I understand now. Why I've always felt claustrophobic in normal buildings, but peaceful in caves. Why I hate artificial light, but love the glow of crystals. Why I've always been drawn to geology and underground spaces. Why I collect rocks and minerals like they're precious treasures. It's not random. It's memory. My soul remembering where it's been, what it's known, who it's been with. His voice grew stronger. And I understand my relationships too. The people I've felt instantly connected to. The ones who speak my language even though we just met. They're part of it, part of the same mission. Other souls who lived in the inner world, who carry the same memories, who are here now for the same purpose. We're finding each other, recognizing each other, building the network we need to fulfill our collective mission. He sat up straighter. But I also understand why so many people think I'm weird. Why I don't fit into normal society. Why I've never been able to hold down a regular job or live a conventional life. It's because I'm not meant to. I'm meant to be different. To be a reminder that there's another way, another reality, another possibility. My weirdness is not a flaw. It's my gift, my purpose. The guide nodded. How does this change how you'll live going forward? A smile crossed his face. A real smile, deep and genuine. I'll stop apologizing for who I am. I've spent so much time trying to fit in, trying to be normal, trying to explain away my experiences and my knowing. But I'm done with that. I know what I know. I've been where I've been, and I don't need external validation anymore. The truth lives in my soul. That's enough. He looked around the room with new eyes, and I'll stop waiting for permission to share what I know. I've been so afraid of being judged, of being called crazy, of being rejected, but that fear kept me silent, kept me small, kept me from fulfilling my purpose. And I can't let fear win anymore. The inner world beings didn't send me back up here to hide. They sent me to speak, to teach, to remind. And that's what I'm going to do. His voice filled with determination. I'll find the others. The ones who remember. The ones who know. There are more of us than I thought. I see it now. We're scattered across the world, working in different ways, speaking different languages, but all carrying the same basic truth. That the earth is more than it appears. That there are realms beneath the surface. That we are not alone. That we are being watched over by beings who love us and want us to succeed. He paused, his expression thoughtful. And I'll honor the earth differently now. Consciously, I'll treat it as the living being I know it to be. I'll speak to it, thank it, work with it. I'll use crystals with reverence. I'll go into caves and deep places with proper respect. I'll be a steward, a guardian, a representative of the surface world to the inner world, showing them that some humans remember, some humans honor, some humans are ready for reunion. The guide smiled gently. What about the homesickness, the longing for the inner world? His eyes grew soft. It will always be there. I understand that now. It's not something to be fixed or healed. It's part of who I am, part of my story, part of my soul signature. That longing is what drives me, what motivates me, what keeps me searching and growing and evolving. Without it, I might get complacent, might settle, might forget again. He took a deep breath. But I can transform the longing. Instead of it being just pain, it can be fuel. Fuel for my mission. Fuel for my work. Fuel for my connection to others who feel the same way. We can hold the longing together. Remind each other what we're working toward. Support each other through the hard times when the surface world feels too heavy and we just want to go home. His voice grew warm. And maybe, just maybe, if enough of us remember, if enough of us wake up, if enough of us live in alignment with the truth, the doors will open again. The inner world will reveal itself, not all at once, not to everyone, but to those who are ready, to those who have proven themselves trustworthy, to those who have kept the faith even when it was hard, even when no one believed them, even when they doubted themselves. He looked directly at the guide. This is the great work. This is what we're all here for. Not just me, all of us who carry memories of other realms, other realities, other ways of being. We're here to hold the vision, to be the bridge, to prepare humanity for the revelation that they are not alone, that they never were, that there are elder brothers and sisters waiting, watching, hoping, praying for the day when reunion becomes possible. The guide leaned back. Is there anything else you need to say or understand? He was quiet for a long moment, then he shook his head. Just one thing, gratitude, deep, overwhelming gratitude. For being chosen, for being trusted, for being given access to the inner world, for being taught by the ancient ones, for being sent back with a mission. It's the greatest honor of my soul's existence, and I won't waste it. I won't squander it. I'll live up to the trust that was placed in me, in all of us. He stood slowly, finding his balance, and thank you for creating space for this, for guiding me back to my truth, for not judging or questioning, for just holding space for the impossible to become possible, for the hidden to become revealed, for the forgotten to become remembered. This changes everything. He looked ahead with clear, focused eyes. His voice was calm but powerful, resonating with unshakable knowing. If you're listening to this and your heart is racing, if tears are rolling down your face, if something deep in your soul is screaming yes, you might be one of us, one of the ones who lived below, who walked the glowing tunnels, who learned from the ancient ones, who were sent back to the surface with a mission, to remember, to speak, to prepare. The inner world is real, the hidden cities exist, and those of us who know, we're here now, together, building the bridge between the worlds, holding the memory, keeping the faith, waiting for the day when the doors open again and humanity is welcomed home, not to the surface, but to the depths, to the heart of the earth, to the place where truth lives, where peace reigns, where unity is not just an idea but a lived reality. We are the bridge builders, we are the way showers, we are the ones who never forgot. He paused, his face luminous with purpose. The earth beneath your feet is alive and waiting. Subscribe to remember what lies beneath.